and the day after the victory of Scott Brown, and also his offering his daughters to all of us, I guess. It's kind of reminded me of Lot, for those of you who have a biblical background. But in any case, well, this election, what is the meaning of this? In the Wall Street Journal, Lanny Davis, a former White House counsel under President Clinton, wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal arguing that the left is to blame for the Massachusetts results. He wrote, and this is a quote from, now keep in mind, Lanny Davis, he was Bill Clinton's lawyer in the White House, right? Bottom line, we liberals need to reclaim the Democratic Party with the new Democrat positions of Bill Clinton and the new politics, these are capitalized NP, bipartisan aspirations of Barack Obama. End of quote. I got to tell you, Lanny Davis is no liberal. He's a lawyer for hire who has worked for and promoted the interests of right-wingers in Honduras, supported a military dictatorship in Pakistan, and did so because both paid him to do it. He is a proponent of the new Democrat wing of the Democratic Party, those who think that the Democrats should become more like Republicans and more in bed with big business. Obama's been listening to this kind of insane advice ever since he first took office, and it's destroying his presidency. America voted for change in 2008, not for corporatism, and what we got was a year of corporatism. Martha Coakley's campaign, for example, her big campaign fundraiser, Coakley in trouble, Pharma and HMO lobbyists to the rescue, is the headline in the Beltway Confidential piece. When Democrat Martha Coakley was in trouble in the mass federal election, Democrats, blah, 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 an army of lobbyists for drug companies, health insurance companies, and hospitals has teamed up to throw a high-dollar Capitol Hill fundraiser for Coakley on Tuesday night. The invitation is here. 22 names in the House committee, meaning they raised $10,000 or more each for her. 17 are federally registered lobbyists, 15 from the healthcare clients. So it's like, okay, more of the same, right? Lanny Davis should disclose his corporate and anti-democratic connections when he writes or is interviewed. And if the Obama administration continues to take this kind of advice, they will get exactly what they deserve for being so stupid, and that is a continued defeat at the polls of the Democratic Party. This was a referendum, this election, make no mistake about it. You're going to hear a lot of BS coming out of the so-called Democratic consultants out there who also make most of their money working for big corporations or for, as in the case of Lanny Davis or in the case of James Carville, foreign dictatorships. You're going to hear a lot of bloviation from these people about how this should be a wake-up call. Democratic Party needs to move to the center. I'm sorry, the Democratic Party has been in the center way too long. It's not even the center. It's what used to be called the Republican Party. In the election of 1946, let's step into the Wayback Machine. World War II is over. The New Deal has done well. The country is on a course to recovery. The soldiers have come home. In the election of 46, a number of Democrats kind of wimped out. And they started going corporate. And they lost the House and Senate in the election of 46 to the Republicans. And Harry Truman came along and said, and in 47, Taft-Hartley was passed, which ripped the guts out of the National Labor Relations Act. And by ripping and Truman was president, and he vetoed it. And they overrode his veto. And this is what Harry Truman had to say to a group of Democrats about what happens when Democrats start behaving like corporatist Republicans.
If the congressional elements that made the Taft-Hartley law are allowed to remain in power, and if these elements are further encouraged by the election of a Republican president, you men of labor can expect to be hit by a steady barrage of body blows. And if you stay at home, as you did in 1946, and keep these reactionaries in power, you'll deserve every blow you get.
There you go. Harry Truman, President of the United States. Now, he was basically at that time saying, labor didn't show up in the election of 46 and vote for Democrats, but there were some problems by that point in the Democratic Party. And so I'm going to at a certain level, disagree with Harry Truman and say this was not the voters. This was there was a confluence of things here. Number one, Scott Brown did not run as a Republican. His colors were blue. His website was blue. Blue was the Democratic color. He kept using the word independent. Number two, he came out of the big money, the national, a series of national large organizations, the Chamber of Commerce in particular, dumped a pile of money on him at the last minute. I mean, just a money bomb for Scott Brown. And the Chamber of Commerce issued a news release last night bragging about the fact that they were the ones who paid for his television ads, and they basically delivered him the election. So you've got a candidate who is a chameleon candidate. But the main thing about Scott Brown's candidacy is that he was running as a change candidate. In 2008, America voted for change. America said, yes, we are sick and tired. We looked at George W. Bush and Henry Paulson Hank Paulson, the Treasury Secretary, come in with a 3-page bailout that basically said, give $800 billion to the banks and don't ask any questions. And that's honest to God what he offered in the beginning. And Americans were horrified. Even Republicans were horrified. But that's what they ended up doing, the Bush administration and the Democrats in Congress. And then Barack Obama comes into office as president with a solid majority in both the House and the Senate. And what does he do? He continues doing the same thing. We've had Matt Taibbi on this program several times. He's written about how the Obama administration has been bailing out the banksters left and right. Well, the financial services industry was one of his major contributors. Barack Obama, President Obama, has now a choice. He is the head of the Democratic Party. He is president of the United States. He still has a solid majority in the United States Senate and a solid majority in the House of Representatives of Democrats. 1923 was the last year that the Republicans had 60 votes in the Senate, and yet they have managed to get a hell of a lot done since 1923, never once having 60 votes in the Senate. 60 votes, needing 60 votes is nonsense. Having a spine, having the courage of your convictions, being willing to fight for what's right, being willing to go to the American people, being willing to sit down every week and have a fireside chat, being willing to say, this is what I care about, being willing to promote a progressive populist agenda. You know, there's just a few of us out here who are saying this. Katrina vanden Heuvel in The Nation, the Massachusetts Lesson, go populist now. Ezra Klein, the Washington Post, talking about this. He's quoting Ted Kennedy. Ted Kennedy in 1980, after he failed in his attempt to beat Carter for the primary, and then as Carter was going down in defeat to Reagan, Ted Kennedy said, quote, if the Democrats run for cover, if we become pale carbon copies of the opposition, we will lose, and we will deserve to lose. The last thing this country needs is two Republican parties. Ted Kennedy. President Obama can choose now to back off from the new Democrat agenda, which all the pundits out there are saying he should be doing. And they are going to, and their voice is going to be amplified 1,000 times by the corporate media in this country. It's all you're going to hear is the Lanny Davises of the world and all these so-called new Democrats, the Clintonians, and they're wrong.